All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Blueprint on How to Turn Goals into Achievement podcast for students. I am your coach, speaker, and host, Andres Ruiz. And today we have a very special guest. I met this gentleman on LinkedIn, and I really appreciate the work that he's doing. We actually got an opportunity to jam a little bit, talk a little bit about the work that he does, and really good stuff that he's doing. And it's a pleasure to have him on the show. His name is Jordan Jones, and he is the director of TRIO Student Support Services at Abilene Christian University. So welcome to the show, Jordan. How you feeling today, man?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, same here, man. And Jordan, I usually, when I get started with on the show, I always like to have the guest brag a little bit about themselves, because I think it's important that, from time to time we pretty much boost ourselves up. But I want to ask you, what would you say is your superpower?
My superpower. See, I'm a creator. I'm gonna be honest. I'm a fixer. I'm a creator. I think that's like what I'm really good at. It's been something I've noticed in myself, and I guess people have noticed in me for a really long time. I always like to tell a story about like my time working at Six Flags. So that was my first job back in when I first started working when I was 16, and I moved up the ranks, and I eventually became like an area supervisor and a manager of the rice department. And one of the things they always did with me is pretty much anytime there was an area that they needed to basically overhaul and like course correct, come up with new ideas to make it better and improve customer satisfaction, all that stuff, they would move me to that area. And so I'd become the new supervisor of that area, and I had to learn all the staff and everything. They would always hate me the first month or two, because the first thing I do is I'm coming being very, very strict with all of my policies and everything, and coming up with new ways to do a lot of different things on that area. But then after a while, I get be able to connect a lot with them, and that's just what I do. Since I've been in higher education, I've created 3 different programs, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. It's been a great opportunity to just use my creativity to find innovative ways to serve students on campus at ACU, and then just in general. I just love the opportunity to come in and build things. So I've definitely enjoyed that.
Nice. And that's awesome. And thank you for sharing your story at Six Flags. I mean, that's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Ever since you were a teenager, you were really into just creating and just making things better. So yeah, that's absolutely a big superpower. So yeah. Can you tell us, kind of give us an overview of the work you do as the director of the TRIO SSS?
Yeah, so I like to say I'm in a unique role, mostly because so ACU had the TRIO grant, Student Support Services grant, up until 2015. They lost the grant in 2015, and I've been at ACU since 2018, and I've been working with first generation students since I got here. And I was running a first gen program prior to the start of TRIO SSS, and I actually got to have some conversations with the executive director, as well as some of the planning committee as they were applying for the grant, on just the work we were doing with the first gen program and how we could expand those services. And so they kind of did the groundwork as they were building the grant. I honestly did not know what TRIO was or had an understanding of it, really. And I worked with the Upper Bound program here. I taught a class there. But I got the chance to interview, and I got the job, and I started in December 2020. And basically from there, I've been working to build programs and services to support first generation low income students and students with disabilities here at ACU. I really love this opportunity because I get to create new programs. And so because there's not a lot established, and when I took over the role, the AVP basically told me to just come in and create, I got a blank canvas to work with. We had, of course, things we have to do as far as the grant goes, but really make the program how I saw fit. And so we focus a lot on intentionality in our program, and we spend a lot of time, of course, working on retention and graduation, but we take a unique approach to it. So building a sense of community is very important. We actually connect with our students prior to them even coming to ACU. So we do some programming over the summer with our incoming freshmen. We actually are getting ready for our camp next week, where we bring our freshmen 3 days early. And so that's going to be an exciting time to just really learn them and connect them. And then throughout the year, not only do we do connection activities to really help with sense of belonging, but we do a lot of different workshops and activities that really support students. We have a mentoring program as part of our program where our first year students are paired with a student mentor. These are all volunteers that want to basically give back to other first generation students or the low income students that are in our program. And so so we have a really good structure. And then, of course, we do one-on-one coaching with all of our students. So each student's assigned a student success coach, and their responsibility is really to just work with them on the basically what I call the 4 pillars of retention. And so we focus on academic success, we focus on financial literacy, we focus on financial aid, and then graduate and career success. And so, so those are 4 things that not only is part of the TRIO program in general and the way that we provide services, but just really things that we find important in helping students along their journey.
Wow, that's amazing, man. And really want to acknowledge you for the things that you do for the students, because those are so crucial, especially that one-on-one coaching, having a mentor, a student who has already been in their shoes so they understand what they're going through. And then most importantly, building a community, I think, is so crucial for success, especially a community that understands what you're going through and the challenges you're going through. So that is so crucial. So, man, I can definitely see how that's a very impressive what you're doing, man. So really appreciate it. So for like students that would be interested in having a career in higher ed, or just, if they're going to be going to college, what would you say it takes to be successful at what you do?
I've actually had this conversation with one of my students, because she was an accounting major, and I could tell she really didn't like accounting. So we talked about, just because she's really involved in her student organization, and just really loved kind of the work that we've done in our program. She was one of our leaders last year in our program. And so I suggested, hey, you might do really well in higher education. And I said that because higher education, one, there's so many different hats you can wear there, and there's so many opportunities, but at the heart of it is all about serving students. So helping students get across that stage, like that is for anyone who wants to work in higher education, that should be your focus. And so like thinking about that, I talk with students about, if you want to help people, if you want opportunities to lead and create new things and really kind of make your mark on the next generation, this is a great place to do it. And as far as going about it, just seek out opportunities on campus. I kind of backed into higher education. I didn't expect this as a long-term career. When I got into it, I thought it would be a great next step for going into counseling. But I realized that I could have that same impact in the space, and that's why I've enjoyed it so much. And really, the relationships that I've gotten to build with students, and just the impact that I've had so far on the institutions that I've been a part of, it's really just been feeling good. and so really, if you find that it's something that's interesting to you, or you want to get more involved on campus, that's where it starts. Like, get involved in student organizations. And Greek life's a great way, because you learn a lot of valuable skills. I was involved in Greek life in college. And then just other student organizations, going to work on campus, like in some of these offices, because you get a lot of responsibilities that will help you. I worked in the diversity and inclusion office at UNT when I was there, and I got to learn a lot of things. I was also a building manager for for a time there, and I got to learn about like just all the different events and things that are put on by the institution at their in the campus center. And so that was just a really cool and unique job. And so there's a lot of different things you can do on campus that can prepare you for really roles like in higher education, which is amazing.
Yeah, I love that. And yeah, there's definitely a lot of resources that these students can use. It's just all about being resourceful.
Yeah.
And taking advantage of those resources. Because I've definitely seen a lot of the schools that I've spoken to. Wow, they have a lot of resources, and sometimes people don't use it to their advantage. But if the people that do are the ones that really strive and take it to the next level. So thank you for sharing
definitely.
that. Yeah. So what would you say is like, what you've been seeing lately? Like, what is the biggest challenge that you have been noticing students having lately?
Yeah. I mean, mental health has been a major issue that we've been tackling, and a lot of that stemmed from COVID. And the way I've described it to faculty when I've talked with them, as we've been talking about where our students are currently and what they need support with, is when you look at it, think about the freshmen this past year. They hadn't had a normal school year. And by normal, I mean a normal school year where they're in person with normal expectations that we have for whether it's high school or college since going back to their sophomore year in high school.
Yeah.
So think about your junior and senior year is kind of when expectations kind of take a whole nother level. You're starting to really focus on preparing for college. You're taking your SATs, all those things. That didn't look normal for them when they were in high school. And then you go to your freshman year in college, and it's basically, yep, we're back to normal. Let's have our normal classes with our normal exams. You're in person. And this is pretty standard at most institutions this past year. Some did some more online work and everything like that, but a lot of the academic expectations were, you know, we're back to normal. Like, we expect you to turn your homework in on time. We expect you to, be here for class, be here on campus in the student environment, all those things. And that was a lot of anxiety that was created for students.
Yeah.
And it's because, one, although you have a lot of resources there, and there's a lot of resources that are available to students, I think about the students that we serve in our program and what their focus is on. And so low-income students make up 2/3 of our program. First-generation students make up 2/3 of our program. So you have to be the first-gen low-income or disabled low-income. 2/3 have to be that. And so seeing the makeup of our students, we think about the socioeconomic barriers that exist leading into college and how that stress can trickle down. So you talk about family members that are stressed because whether or not they're going to lose their job or not, worrying about the cost of education. And then you have the students worrying about those things as well. And now stepping into the college environment and having to perform academically as well. And so there's just a lot of pressure, stress, anxiety that are weighing down. And so we've done a lot of targeted initiatives at that. And in fact, for our camp next week, we actually have a session on mental health. We also have one on imposter syndrome because we want our students to have those resources and tools early on. And then I think the other thing is just, providing them with an opportunity to belong, feel that they can belong here on campus is going to help with that mental health because isolation is a major part of it. When students feel isolated, they don't have anybody they can turn to when they're at the lowest point. So being that lifeline can go a long way.
Yeah, no, yeah, I agree 100%. And that whole thing about belonging, I think is so important because when they belong, they feel like they belong, again, goes back to community. And focusing on mental health, imposter syndrome is a big one as well. I know a lot of things that have told me, like some people just don't understand me. Sometimes people think that they think I'm better than them, but really I'm just trying to do better for myself. But I don't think I'm better than them, but because I don't give enough time to my family or my friends, or they feel like, oh, what's going on? Like, you're too good for us. No, it's like I got a lot on my plate. So, having those people that, like I said, that's the beauty about Upward Bound and SSS and ETS. All these, they come together, and these kids, they understand each other. But then you also have like people like yourself that understand where they're coming from. So to have somebody that's already been through it is so powerful and so helpful. So
yeah. And I always tell my staff, I tell other staff on campus and faculty when they ask me about how can we support these students, how can we help, what can we be doing, I don't know. And the first thing I always say is listen to what students have to say. And I know that's a very cliche thing to say, but it's true. One, every student's experience is unique. Not every student in our program has the same barriers as the other. And so being aware of that is very important. So I spend a lot of time talking with students in our program just about what their needs are, where they're sitting, and really understand that because trends tell you a lot. And that's how we picked up on the mental health, because we started adding that to our needs assessment as one of the questions that we asked students about, because so many students were telling us in coaching sessions that I'm stressed out, I'm overwhelmed, I feel like there's so much going on and I don't know what to do. And so we made that a priority, and that just comes from listening to the students.
Love it. That's good stuff. Like for any students out there that are listening to this, like what would you say, like what that are facing this challenge, what advice would you give them to overcome this challenge?
One, find somewhere to plug into. It doesn't matter if it's one person or five, like find somewhere where you can get plugged in. I struggled with it in my first year in college, and I only moved an hour away from home, but I felt very alone. Like my first year, I had some people that I could talk to, but I didn't really feel close enough to where I could really, really open up about what I was struggling with. I struggled in my classes early on, and it took some of my really close friends that I had classes with that I just finally opened up about everything with, and it started to help me get over this, get over that. And that's where it starts. So if you have a faculty member that you can talk to, or a professor, if you have a staff member on campus that you can talk to, if you have other students that you can talk to, start there. It can be very overwhelming to try and go to a counseling center on campus. Those resources are available and they are free at pretty much every institution, but it can be scary to go have those conversations. And so one, you don't have to go there by yourself, and that doesn't have to be the first place that you go, but just try to find somebody you feel comfortable with that you can just have a conversation with and start there. Yeah, and I can tell you there are so many people on campus, and like I said, we're here to serve students. It doesn't matter what department we're in. You can go to the budget office on campus and there's somebody in there that wants to help you. And so yeah, so there's somebody that you can get connected with that will be there for you.
Good stuff. Yeah. And one thing that you mentioned is like, don't be scared to go out there, because I know there's a lot of stigma around mental health where it's getting better, thank goodness. But but there's still some people out there that are kind of like, I don't know, I don't want to be seen as crazy or like, weak. But I'm glad that we're having these conversations with these kids. You're not weak, you're actually strong, because you're getting help, as opposed to just suppressing all these emotions, which eventually leads to anxiety. And then it leads to depression, and God knows what, like it could lead to something even darker, which right now, suicide is the second leading cause of death among teens. So it could get really dark. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. And yeah, opening up to people. Thank you for sharing your own experience as well. It's very important that people understand that you're not alone. People have been through this. Get some help. The help is out there. The resources are out there. You just got to be resourceful. So,
exactly.
Yeah, good stuff. So I know that, talking to people is very important, but I know it's also very important to talk to people that could be mentors. And you talked about how there's mentors there. There's a lot of mentorship going on, which I love. How did you find help and mentorship for what you do? And how did these mentors help you on your journey? Anybody you like to give a shout out to?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think one of the people that supported me the most, because I have a really good community, which I'm grateful for. But first, when I started in higher education, my boss was amazing. Like, she was very supportive, and she kind of took me under her wing and really spent a lot of time just really helping me get connected on campus. Now, when I moved here to Abilene back in 2018, I spent a lot of time with the director of Upper Bound, D'Angelo Sands, and he really kind of took me under his wing here at the institution, got me familiar with, he plugged me into their program. He got me more familiar with first generation students because I was a financial aid counselor for them on campus. Sure. And so I really relied on him a lot as a resource early on. And even now that he's moved on, he's the executive director of TRIO programs at A&M Corpus Christi, and we still connect frequently. And really just talk about, the trends we're seeing in TRIO, because he really helped me really understand this entire space. And I plug into a lot of different people at different institutions, but honestly, LinkedIn is so powerful. I mean, there's so many people that you connect with on there. And I think one of the biggest things people are scared of, especially new professionals, is reaching out to people on LinkedIn. And I'm more than happy to respond to anybody who reaches out to me on LinkedIn, as long as you're not like some spammer that's going to send me messages about random things. But if you're a higher education professional interested in the space and just wanting to learn more about what I do and how I support students, I'm always willing to talk about that, because once again, we're here to serve students. And so I know that you're doing that at the institution. I think there's something to like, oh, well, if they're not from my school, then how can they be a mentor for me? I talk with people at Texas State, people at Tarleton State, people all across the country that I can tap into that are all about helping me find resources to better support my students. And I think that's just such a powerful thing. So just reach out, and I'm sure you won't get 100% of the responses, but you'll have some people ready and willing to meet with you, which is amazing.
I love that. Yeah. And man, that's so cool to hear that you're connecting with other people from different locations, and those resources can be very beneficial, not only for your students, but like the university, all these people can benefit from it, because now you're on their radar of like, okay, yeah, oh, you know what, Jordan mentioned that he needed this, let me reach out to him. Or vice versa, like, you would say, hey, I know so and so needed this, I'm going to reach out to them and help them out. When we're helping each other out, you're going to have an abundance of resources, And when you have an abundance of resources, then all you can do is just be successful. And at the same
Yeah.
time, you're going to help these kids succeed. So I love
Yeah.
that. It's good
Yeah,
stuff.
never reinvent the wheel. Like if there's somebody out there that has a great material that you can use, just reach out and ask questions about it. I had when I was working on building a financial literacy program here in my previous role, I reached out to the director of UNT because I knew what they have been doing there, and he literally sent me their entire playbook on how they built out their money management center and said, literally, if you need any other resources, just let me know. I was like, use it, create it. If you just want to use this as a template and create your own with similar things, it's completely fine. So yeah, people are more than willing to help. You just gotta ask.
Just gotta ask, man. That's
Yeah.
a big one right there. That's another one that we gotta teach the kids. Like, you gotta ask. A lot of people just don't ask. But hey, it's it's important that we ask, because the more that we ask, and not being scared of rejection, because like you said, some people won't respond. That's okay. But you will get a yes, because I believe that in the land of no, there's a yes. So you just continuously being okay with those no's, and then eventually you'll get that yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
So final question. It's been a very powerful conversation, but I want to ask you, like, why is it important to stay hungry and humble at the same time when pursuing your goals?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a balance of it all. Like one, you don't want to settle for your potential. You should always, shoot for the sky, reach as high as possible, because you never know how much magnifying your impact can do. And going back to Six Flags, which I recommend any young person like looking for a job, like that's a great opportunity to get leadership experience. But when I first started working there, so I had no intentions of moving up. I literally just wanted to work. This is a summer job for me. Just wanted to make money and go home. And I was a lead at the time, and one of my supervisors at the time talked to me, and I was like, I really don't want to do anything past this. I don't want the additional responsibility. I just like training people. That's fun. I'll do that, and that's it. And he was like, you do such a great job in this role, and there's so much that you can benefit from the higher you move up. When you limit yourself in these areas, you're preventing other people from growing because you won't grow. And that's just so powerful, because I'm over here thinking, oh, I'm staying humble and staying in my place and staying down here. But no, when I am shooting for the sky and I'm working hard and trying to achieve these goals, I'm helping other people, because one, I'm bringing other people up with me. I'm elevating my community, but also I'm able to, train and coach and grow at a higher level, because now, instead of like right now as a director, I get to train and coach coaches. Like I get to work with other staff like around campus. I do education for faculty and staff on campus. When I was a financial aid counselor working in the office, working with the same student population, I didn't have that same clout that I do now. And so my voice carries a lot more weight. And so I'm able to create more change for the students on campus. I'm in conversations now with advancement teams about funding for our university to support first generation students. I wouldn't have gotten that opportunity where I was before. And so that's where it goes to, staying hungry. And then as far as being humble, know why you're doing it. Like at the end of the day, know why you're doing it. And sometimes you have to check yourself, because you can chase the money and you can chase all those things. But one, if you're working in higher education, it's not about the money. I'm to be honest, you can go and make a lot more money somewhere else. So it's really more about the impact that you're making. You just have to remember that. And as long as you know like why you're trying to do what you're going to do, then you're going to have that perfect balance, and it's going to be great.
I love that. Yeah, man. Good stuff. Yeah, this was definitely a great conversation. And I just want to say thank you again, Jordan, for being on the show. Definitely dropped a lot of golden nuggets today, and I'm sure that the audience got a lot of it from it. I mean, I got a lot of it from it as well. So, I just want to say I appreciate you for giving us your time, and everybody that's watching, thank you so much for watching the Blueprint on How to Turn Goals into Achievement podcast for students. We will be seeing you on the next episode. Have a wonderful day. Peace.